as I'm working on this piece, I've decided to record a few observations or tips that you can use in your colored pencil drawing. It doesn't matter what you draw, these tips apply to any subject that you like to draw. Okay, so let's turn over to my drawing and I'll show you a few things. Okay, the first tip is all about layering. When I put different colors in, I always overlap them one over another, and it's a common mistake that students make. They start drawing with one hue and then they stop at some point, and then they start shading with a lighter hue next to it. But you always need to remember that you need to overlap the colors. Don't be afraid to do that. That's how you get softer transitions between the tones. And here you can see that it looks a lot smoother than this part of the drawing, and that happened because I applied white and a very light gray pencil over the original coloring, and by applying white color over everything else, I basically smoothed out the surface, and that's why you see such subtle transitions now. And I also made it lighter. You know, the face looked kind of dark. In the picture, I turned away from the light, so the light actually came from this direction. And the entire face was in the shadow, and I had just a few highlights. Anyways, when I started shading, I shaded it too dark, and to save it, to lighten it up, I used white and a very light gray pencil going over almost the entire face. And you can apply this technique using darker color as well. It might not be white, it might be pinkish color. If you want to lighten up the area, you just shade over this space. And the cool part about it is that it unifies everything. If you have colors that look too separate, by shading over them with a single pencil, it unifies the entire area. Also, when I begin marking my shadows, I pick the color that I see in the photograph. That's the basic color, and I start shading from the shadows, and I try to keep it very nice and soft. And it helps me develop the form. And by using just a single pencil, I keep the entire image unified, and it's a lot easier to develop the picture in one color first, and then just keep layering color to describe the light. That's another thing. I always think of the light direction, and what does it mean exactly? I'm looking at this area to see where I have more light or less light. For instance, on this side of the arm, I have a lot more light than over here. That tells me that I need to shade this area some more, so this space stays in the light and this area recedes into the shadow. And that's how you create volume. You observe the shadows, how strong they are, and by shading the shadows, you create the three-dimensional form. One more thing that I want to mention here, whenever you shade, always think of the form and the anatomy and how correct or incorrect it is. For instance, I'm looking at this, and it needs to be a perfect circle, and while I'll keep shading this, I'll be thinking about the perfection of the circle. The same is true about the hand or anything else, actually. I always look at the shapes, and as I keep shading, I try to fix minor mistakes. That's why it's very important to start with a perfect outline that I develop in my sketch, and then I transfer my sketch onto my paper, and then I draw.